Well, most everyone I talk to seem to think this team caught fire with Gunner Stockton. He seemed to invigorate the offense. It gave them something they hadn't had all year. Now, what does that mean? Roger? Well, it means that they they showed a spark that they didn't have before. That's important. And so you want to build on that. So these coaches really have an opportunity, and I'm sure they'll be doing this, is to come up with packages and a good game plan to utilize the sudden nature of this offense. It's not the same offense. It's a different guy. You didn't choose to. You didn't demote Beck, but he's not here. And to be honest, he hasn't played great. That could be the reason. Could be because the coordinators haven't put him in position to do well. What do I know? But I do know that in this situation, you need to have a good coordinator. Somebody that can be innovative and come up with something. Traits that Mr. Bobo has not demonstrated he's capable of. Let's get one thing clear. He was hired to run Todd Monken's offense. And has anybody recognized that he's not doing that anymore? That he deviated from that drastically this year, but last year as well. So he failed. He was supposed to run a proven method offense. The players were recruited for that, and he's failed. And he hasn't run that offense. So, the number one job description, you failed. The rest of the stuff is just gravy if you don't like Mike Bobo. But he's failed. He's not even running the Todd Monken offense. It's not like that offense don't work anymore. He just don't run it. Well, Georgia fans can celebrate. They won the SEC. And Roger, I believe you had made a wager with myself earlier that Mike Bobo would never win an SEC. So what do you have to say about that, Roger? Well, on the day that Todd Monken was visiting Kirby Smart and Mike Bobo, a bit of a presentation they gathered, it made me long for Monken, and I was thinking to myself, I could sure use him today. And I took the high road and figured that maybe Kirby Smart brought him down to inspire Mike Bobo. And so if that is the case, then it worked. He was inspired to get 22 points and not score in the first half again. His team won the SEC, and Bobo is technically the coach. He was technically the coach 3 other times, and they failed, I won't say miserably, but failed at the very, very end. It was a game that very easily could and should have been won, but it wasn't. But today, it was. But that's the best I can give you for Mike Bobo. He did win an SEC title, but actually he didn't. A very heroic Georgia team did, despite him. But he'll have his name on one, and that's fine. I would like to have seen his name on 4. Nothing against the guy. Glad he caught one. We can call him Blind Squirrel now, if you like. Now, Roger. It's supposed to be a polite show. Georgia Bulldogs are in a moment of celebration. Where they should have been last year in the playoffs, in the catbird seat. Everything looks terrific, but they simply don't have a quarterback. So is that really a good time to be talking about a coordinator, Roger? No, it's not. It's a terrible time to be realizing you have a terrible coordinator and don't have a quarterback. Other than that, we're happy and celebratory as we can be. And so is that what we have become? A fan base that is excited as if we had won a bowl game, the Sugar Bowl. It felt like we just won the Sugar Bowl, because that usually gave you the SEC. And so Georgia probably feels higher, or as high as they did after beating Ohio State. They had that feel. It just did. What about you, Roger? Did you feel that? I did. I felt that excitement that we had when we beat Ohio State. I felt that excitement we had against Oklahoma. And that might be more where we really are. Maybe we're just like that team, and beating Texas might be the extent of what they can do. They've only done it twice. Doesn't seem to impress too many people. Look, I don't know how to look at this team. I mean, they're supposed to have been what Oregon is, the juggernaut that nobody can touch, but they lost twice. 3 games, they didn't have an offense at all. That's like going back to the LSU 38-10 debacle. But we won the SEC championship game, so this team isn't that 2019 team that falls apart for no reason. Can't find a receiver, doesn't have a quarterback. I don't know what we are. But it would help if we felt like our coaches were going to rise to the occasion. That's a wonderful opportunity for this coaching staff to get it together. They haven't done it yet. They need to look at themselves and say, why haven't we scored in the first half? Are we going to be able to win a game with a quarterback that has 9 minutes of experience if we get behind at the half again? And it's not going to be Tennessee Tech. It's not going to be Missouri or everybody else we played for the last 2 years. Either behind or barely ahead. We don't score in the first half. We don't score when we should. 60% in scoring drives. 60th in the country in scoring drives. May not be true right now. It was true before the Ole Miss game. Certainly after. We're not getting points, but we're able to move the ball. We're not going 3 and out. We just put the guys in position, and they don't try to do great things. When do we send 5 out? Go make a play. No, we line up dumb. I don't know what we're trying to do. We were in a power eye when we scored the touchdown. Maybe we'll just stick to that. Well, Gunner Stockton was on the team before Mike Bobo came, I believe, Roger. So he wasn't Mike Bobo's first choice. Beck became his choice, and did Beck actually coach or quarterback any with Monken? I'll have to look that up. Stetson Bennett was 22, and then 23 it was Beck. So he may have played, but he wasn't the starter. Beck was named the starter coming into 23. So yeah, Mike Bobo had a lot to do about him being the chosen one. Supposedly they had a room full of 5-star quarterbacks. We're getting like Clemson. We brag about that, but we never see them on the field. Seemed to be a problem with Mike Bobo teams with Rick. They always had the talent recruited, but when you needed them, they didn't have anybody. And they're always hurt. And players don't develop. They don't get better, they get worse. And so those are things that are not going to help you. You need this coaching staff will probably, a good thing for Georgia is that it probably will coach by committee. And I just smelled something changed after the Ole Miss game, as well it should have. Not saying it did, Because you don't know around here. Nobody tells you anything. What kind of team does a fan expect Georgia to bring when they get their first playoff game? Nobody's going to know. I mean, it took a miracle to find out Beck really isn't coming back. And he's not. Even though there's still him all around that, he's not coming back. It's Gunner Stockton. And Mike Bobo didn't pick him. Now he's got to work with his second choice. So why didn't he pick him? I have my theories. Just my theory. Is I don't think that Mike Bobo likes to actually allow the quarterback to think. He's one of those kind of coordinators. Not particularly bright, but he wants the quarterback to do what he says. He wants to control the play calling. Very controlling. You can't do that as much with a Stetson Bennett type or a Gunner Stockton. Because the whole kid's game is to get the ball, make some reads, and we don't really know what play he's going to actually call or run because you set up multiple options in every formation. Because he can do a lot of things. One of the things he can't really do is what Beck did. Stand back and throw darts in the formations that he was put in. 2 wideouts, basically pocket passing, screen passes. That's not going to help. So the play calling of choice deviated from anything Monken ever showed you. So you're quite correct, Roger. He is not running the Monken offense. And this year, it seems as if the only game it really looked like it was the second half at Clemson, not the first half. It seems like he runs the Monken offense with a variation of accomplishing nothing. Seems like there's an aversion to scoring. I've made videos about that. Very aware, Roger. You believe something is amiss with Mr. Bobo, and it's not just limited to his coaching ability. And certainly a theory that you presented well, but it's just a theory. And we're not going to get into that, because it's too late for that. If my theory about Mike Bobo is or was correct, there's plenty of evidence to show it. Now, and if that's the case, you're just in deep doo-doo as long as he's here. Let's hope I'm wrong. But I don't think Mike Bobo is going to bring out the best of Gunner Stockton. He didn't pick him. So the way I see it is that Beck and Bobo kind of came as a package. That was Bobo's boy. So if Bobo's boy ain't there, and after the Ole Miss game there was a little play calling by committee, there's no telling what kind of offense this Georgia team will have. But I will say this, the least amount of influence of Mike Bobo will be to Georgia's favor. And it's time for a new coordinator. That the numbers simply do not warrant his employment. As I said, he failed at his primary objective, continue the Todd Monken offense. That's implied the same success. When you look at the film, look at the games, and he doesn't use that offense, at least not all the time. It's a bizarre thing. It fits into my theory quite well that he doesn't want to score, and we'll leave it at that. Why would anybody not want to score? You go think about that one for a minute. I don't know why you wouldn't want to score, Roger. I don't either. But it looks like Mike Bobo definitely doesn't like it all the time, especially not in the first half.
My dear old friends, family, it's time to say goodbye. Let's pray to God and have of faith we will meet again soon.
Well, thank you, Roger, for having me on again. That was my pleasure. And as always, many thanks to all of you listening out there. Let's all remember, as we enter the holiday season, that at the end of the day, we're all just one big family. And we hope your family has the most wonderful holiday season. Just imagine if we could all gather just once under the same roof and the same hearth and eat at the same table. Just imagine how big that table would be. And we would all gather around, and each one of us, each Emily and each Harold, and each Bobby Sue and Sarah Jane, and each Juanita and each Pablo would all have a moment to share what all we did on this day on the earth. And we'd all gather and tell our stories, and we'd all listen to each other's stories, and fill our bellies with fatted duck and plum pudding. And that's what family is for. And we wish you all a very happy and merry holiday season. And Roger, as always, until we meet again. And the same with all of you, till we meet again as well. Ta-ta.